I'm doing this review zero punctuation style because I don't actually own a copy of Thor God of Thunder. I rented it from the local library, had 3 days to play it, and I'll be damned if I'm going to subject myself to this game a second time just to get game footage. The game is dull, boring, and cheap, but I spent 4 hours of my life playing it, so I might as well get something out of the experience. The game opens with frost giants invading Asgard. Thor's friend Sif gets killed and Thor swears a vendetta. Loki tells Thor about his secret weapon that could destroy the ice giants, and Thor goes to, the ice level to find it. Meanwhile, Odin brings Sif back to life and goes into the Odin sleep to recharge his powers. Why Odin waited to bring her back to life until after Thor swore genocidal vengeance is left to the workings of your imagination. Everything Odin does, he does for a reason, my ass. Thor eventually finds the weapon, which turns out to be Mangog, a robot with fire powers who can release the souls of the damned, or something like that, and from there the game's plot is so underexplained that I think it's fair to say that the game has no plot. So here's how your basic level in Thor works. Fight! Run for 10 seconds. Fight! Run for 10 seconds. Fight! Run for 10 seconds. Copy and paste that statement about 1,000 times and you've beaten the game. Every single level consists of you beating the shit out of countless identical bad guys, and it just goes on and on. Every enemy in the game is fought the same way. Use weak and heavy attacks to pound him into the dirt. If it has armor, use an uppercut and then pound him into the dirt. If he has an electric shield, use lightning and then pound him into the dirt. If he has a fire shield, use wind and then pound him into the dirt. The game doesn't send multiple enemies with different weaknesses at you at once, and once you fight a few armored enemies, you never see them again, so you're basically just repeating the same fight over and over and over again, and it gets really boring really fast. Speaking of repeating the same fight over and over again, at the end of the first level you fight a frost golem boss. I hope that you like this boss because the second and third levels end with the exact same boss fight. Later on there's some kind of fire golem boss that you have to fight 5 times. While we're on the topic of boss fights, every boss fight in the game has QuickTime event sequences where a prompt will appear on the screen to swing your remote in a specific direction. And if you screw up the QuickTime event, the boss instantly kills you. And the game is so poorly coded that I usually have to swing my remote at least twice for the motion to register properly. And don't blame the Wii! I have played plenty of Wii games where the motion controls work perfectly. This game's programming is just poo. The game looks like shit, and it's not just that the graphics look bad. The animations are varying degrees of choppy the entire time you play, and the game is not appealing to the eye. At best, the game looks like 2/3 of the animation frames are missing, and at worst, it looks like I could have reenacted the game in Microsoft PowerPoint. Chris Hemsworth was great as Thor in the movie, but his voice acting for the game is pretty subpar. Whenever Thor yells in rage at an enemy, it sounds like a guy on riff tracks going, "I'll harm you!" The game is set chronologically before the movie, which means that Thor is still in the asshole phase of his life. When you're going after the Mangog weapon, the leader of the Frost Giants constantly pleads with you not to release the weapon or else everyone in the universe will be screwed. So you fly up to and smash his face in, just like everybody else that you meet. So adding to the list of this game's sins, the game's protagonist is unlikable. It turns out that Loki sent Thor to release Mangog so that he could defeat Mangog and become the stalwart hero of the land. So how come when Loki does the exact same thing in the movie, nobody suspects that there are shenanigans afoot? Every now and then you'll come across a group of enemies that respawn infinitely. The only way to stop the enemies from respawning infinitely is by killing one specific enemy that is completely indistinguishable from all of the other enemies. Because the game is already so monotonous, the only way you'll figure out that you're in such a fight is when you realize you've been in the same room for 10 minutes now and there's no end in sight. And then when you finally figure it out, you have already lost almost all of your health and you have to start the fight over. The game does give you a wide variety of powers and attacks to use, and it does make you feel like you're Thor. It just makes you feel like you're Thor doing mundane chores. It's blatantly clear that the other enemies in the game are nowhere near as strong as you, and it feels like you die because of incompetence rather than because the enemies are formidable. At the start of one of the fire levels, Thor sighs at the sight of more enemies, like he's as tired of this crap as I am. You can find runes and unlock storm tokens to make Thor stronger as you play, but all of the power-ups have such minute effects that you won't even notice any difference as you play. This is especially evidenced by the health and Odin force meters that you level up and they budge maybe 2 or 3 pixels. I've heard that the other version of the game is about 12 hours long while the Wii version is only 4 hours long, but if the two versions have similar gameplay, then saying the Wii game is shorter has become a compliment. The Wii version does have some challenge maps, some higher difficulty levels, and exactly 2 poorly designed monotonous flying levels, but I didn't play any of them because I had become bored out of my mind 2 hours beforehand. Thor God of Blunder is so insubstantial that there's really not much to say about it. All of the levels are never-ending streams of enemies that blur together, and after a while you're just playing the game on autopilot, mindlessly mashing buttons and hoping the enemies die quickly so that you can move on and do something else. In short, this game sucks and you should stay away from it. But then again, everybody already knew that, so this entire review is just a massive waste of time.